Assalamu alaikum and welcome to my channel Thor or Spin. This discussion is about Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad. This novella was published in 1899 and for the first time the subject of colonialism was discussed. Our main focus will be on the title, theme and setting. However, in the coming lectures, we will discuss the other aspects of the novel as well. So you should remain in touch and we will take the other subtopics which are covered in the novel. For instance, figures of speech, the representation of women, the narrative techniques, words from the other languages, silencing colonized and their culture, and particularly the fictionalized colonizers and colonized. As I told you, this lecture is about the title, the theme and the setting of the novel or novella Heart of Darkness. As far as the title of the text is concerned, so the title Heart of Darkness signifies the literal, figurative, symbolic, moral, ethical, spiritual and psychological sense. Various critics, they have discussed the title from their own viewpoints. However, we can extract the overall conclusion from their discussion, and that is the last word of the combination, that is Heart of Darkness, can be linked with the continent of Africa and its environment. The darkness of Africa affects the white people, that is the colonizers or the Europeans. The obvious examples are the character of Marlowe and Kurtz. Apparently, their mission is to go and save the uneducated or the primitive society of Africa. However, they themselves become victims of the climatic conditions and the awareness for ivory. The word darkness is an integral part of the title, but it is difficult to determine the exact meaning as everything is shrouded in darkness. All the characters in the text, Europeans and Africans, Congolese, are described as depressing and gloomy, which reflects the darkness of their hearts or their inner lives. The title can also be taken symbolically, that is, light and darkness. They are symbols for white and black people. The white people are depicted as superior and black as inferior. The lust of the white characters for ivory, their cruel behavior and greed lead them to a horrible situation which can be linked with poetic justice. If we consider the perspective or background of the title, so at first the title of the novella was The Heart of Darkness. The definite article was there in the title, but this definite article was removed at the time of the publication of the novella in the book form. The definite article in the serial title as opposed to the book title may seem unimportant, but when leaving it out, the title represents more room for ambiguity and leaves more room for interpretation. It could mean both a dark heart as in person's inner struggles with such darkness, but could also be referred to the dark heart of Africa and Congo. If we consider the collocation, the combination of heart and darkness, they do not collocate with each other. However, it suggests the interior of Africa, which was then widely termed as the dark continent in the history. Thus, the narrative refers to the profound darkness of the heart of Africa, but the phrase could also mean a person with a dark, obscure, mysterious, sinister, or evil heart. The word darkness stands for the black people in the imagination of the white people or the Europeans. The title as an indication of the dominant image of Africa in the imagination of Western communities. This observation is quite close to the theory of Edward Said, that is post-colonial theory. So, the dominant image of Africa in the mind or in the image of the Western people or the European peoples, this point can be linked with the theory of Edward Said. Now, as I told you in the beginning of the discussion, that the title can be taken as metaphorical as well. So the title of the book is a metaphor. The real darkness is not in Africa, but has been originated from Europe, which can be associated with the mistreatment of the colonizers to the native Congo or the Congolese. In the light of this interpretation, this analysis, it can be argued that the heart of darkness, the title, it can be interpreted, it can be explained from various dimensions, and we touched those dimensions briefly. Now coming to the theme of the novel or novella. Conrad is the first novelist who conceives the theme of colonialism in Heart of Darkness. The theme of the text is the conflict between moral idealism and material interests. Heart of Darkness revolves around the story of two communities, advanced and primitive, powerful and weak, the exploiters and the exploited, the control of the natural resources, savage and brutal attitudes towards the Africans, and master and slave relationships. They are the literary ingredients which contribute to the main themes of the text. We can link the thematic connection with Hegel's master-slave notion, sociologically with Marx' bourgeois and proletariat, and politically with colonialism and post-colonialism. Similarly, the theme of the text can be linked with the selflessness of an individual as well. In Africa, the environment converts Kurds into a savage, and though in the beginning, he was considered a writer, a journalist, a champion of the human rights, a great orator, but it is argued by Joseph Conrad that the environment, it changes or it affects the character of the Kurds, and he is converted into a savage, and his focus is now changed from the civilizations or to show his talent for the reforms of the Congolese societies, but he changed himself, and thus he becomes a greedy person and he forgets the feelings and sentiments about other human beings. It can also be argued that the theme can be linked with the approach, and that approach is civilization versus barbarism, which is reflected through Europeans and African characters. Similarly, the narrator of the story, Marlowe, he asserts that history is a cyclic process. The nations and communities are passing through various stages of civilizations and barbarism. When we study the historical facts about a country, it reveals us this reality that a nation, it always passes through a fall and a rise. And this point is accommodated here in the Heart of Darkness as well. Now, coming to the setting of the text. The setting of the text can be analyzed literally and metaphorically. The narrative begins on the Thames River outside London, where Marlowe shares his experiences with his fellows. However, later on, the action is shifted to Brussels at the company's offices are headquartered, and the main action of Heart of Darkness at the end takes place in the continent of Africa, particularly the state of Congo. In Heart of Darkness, Africa is merely a setting for the disintegration of the mind of Mr. Kurtz. African Congo is a place which corrupts the human beings and converts them into savages. According to the narrator, the text is an account of an uncivilized continent, that is Africa, and a civilized continent, Europe. The narrator informs us about the cultures and histories of these two continents. The two rivers, Thames and Congo, they are presented from colonial viewpoint. The Thames River has a history of civilization and served the nation for a long time. However, the Congo River is termed as a deadly, uncoiled snake with its head in the sea, its body at rest, curving afar over a vast country, and its tail lost in the depths of the land. The narrator also tells us that the Congo River is without any purpose. However, he forgets this point that this river is still contributing to the trade of the European nations, and all the transportation is carried out through the Congo River, and the colonizers have established the stations for business transactions on this river at various spots. The setting of the text is full of darkness from the very beginning to the very end. The contrast between light and dark is quite clear. The changes in European as they drive further into the river Congo, and the white man's collapse under the darkness of the river Congo, they are also the points, and they can be linked with the setting of the novel. The narratives and events throughout the book indicate darkness. Marlowe, for instance, tells his story on a boat in so deep darkness that he cannot see his friends, creating a sense of evil surroundings of the story. As a conclusion of these 3 points, we can say that the title of the text, the theme of the text, and the setting of the text, all these 3 main points, they can be linked with colonialism, and they can be analyzed in the light of post-colonial discourse. This was a brief discussion about these 3 points. The following lectures will focus the other points of this novella by Joseph Conrad, and there we will discuss the rest of the points. Thank you very much for your kind attention.